416-705-1444. Connectwithlou.com. Back with more Real Estate SOS. And back this week, Lou, Denise Lash from Lash Condo Law, or condo lawyer, real estate lawyer. Lots of information to be had here. And the learning is about to begin once again, right?
Well, we had a great conversation. Denise, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being on.
Oh, thank you, Lou.
My pleasure. We had a great conversation last time about, of course, condominiums and about what's going to potentially happen, how it may affect condominium current owners, maybe people considering going into condominium lifestyle. What are some of the concerns or issues or highlights around the marijuana, recreational marijuana coming into effect, and how is that going to affect people living in a condominium? So we wanted to get the legal side of this equation and just kind of see how it may affect people in one way or the other. So Denise, what do you got?
Well, I know we had this discussion last time. We're talking about the change in the legislation. Originally, we thought it was going to happen sometime this summer. It looks like it may happen in the fall. But a lot of boards of directors of condominium corporations are concerned, and they're hearing from their owners, what's going to happen? What is our condominium going to be like? Is everyone just going to be smoking marijuana, walking down the halls, So, that is not the case. But they're coming to us for advice, and we are saying now's the time to think about whether you want to be non-smoking altogether in your building. Now, these are things, or not smoking in certain areas, the balconies. So, we've been doing a lot of rule revisions to deal with some of those challenges. And I know last time we talked about the rules and the legislation that deal with growing marijuana in your units.
Because people will be allowed a certain amount to actually grow within their own space. Okay, and we weren't quite sure on that, but I think you clarified that, yeah?
Yeah, no, it's not for plants per person.
No, okay.
Can you imagine that? Like, you could have 6 people.
You're the Brady Bunch. It's like, wow, you're like, Pablo Escobar overnight.
It's 4 plants per
household.
But, I've been finding out about marijuana and the growing of it, and I've been told that even one plant can give off an odor and can cause problems. And as soon as it gives off the odor, it can permeate into the hallways, into other units. So condominiums are now looking at rules, and I think every condominium should do this. We've got 11,000 condominium corporations in Ontario, and they should deal with this. And one of the things is prohibiting the growing of marijuana in units. And you can do that simply by a rule.
Well, that's a very interesting point. So even though it would be allowed legally as that living environment and being respectful, would this be considered part of the quiet enjoyment?
Well, it is, and that's just like noise, just like cooking odors.
Right, same sort of thing. So there is a right for something referred to as quiet enjoyment, that we all are, we have the right to quietly enjoy our space. And it doesn't mean sound, but it does mean sound as well as other things. And I think this is what Denise is referring to as well. The permeation of odor, whether it's cooking odor, and this gets, it's a big thing because a cooking odor to one person may not be offensive.
Same with weed.
Yeah, so it starts to open up a whole can of worms. So Denise, I'm not quite, I hear you, and I think it needs to have definitely attention focused to it. Is policing going to be a challenge, though?
That's the problem, right? Enforcement.
Yeah.
Well, like any other enforcement, first of all, you need the rules. So if corporations don't have the rules, then what are you going to do about it? So that's the first step. Once they have the rules, then it's up to the condominium manager to notify them that they're in breach or they're interfering. And that's where the discussions start happening, and sometimes, it gets to a point where it can be very hostile between neighbors, between the board and the person, the culprit. And we get involved in those situations. Then it's, the legal proceedings. And
right. And I would suspect you that we're also now getting into some really interesting areas, because some condominiums, and we've talked about this before, whereas I mentioned the one that I live in also allows short-term rentals. Right. So now there's several types of occupants. There's the owner occupant, the renter, long-term renter occupant, or short-term rental renter occupant.
Right.
So you've got all these different occupant types that are in there with varying degrees of what they do with marijuana. So this could be a really big challenge, particularly in buildings that even allow these short-term rentals, because now it's another type of person that's in there.
I don't think it's an unwise thing, Denise, about the restricting or if not forbidding the growing of marijuana in units, because I mean people are imagining someone with 4 plants, in a pot up against a window. There is heat lamps, there's electricity involved, there's fire hazards, there is all kinds of things involved with growing this stuff. And people don't know how to do it. I just see this being a nightmare for the fire department, really.
Well, I do too.
It's mold. It's the mold.
And the mold issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We always have challenges with that in corporations where there's mold growth, and that could be a lifestyle issue, and marijuana will contribute to that. So really important. Now, if it is somebody like a tenant dealing with the marijuana or any other breach of rules, it's a tenant, a subtenant, they're still bound by
the rules and regulations of the
and the owner is ultimately
and the owner is ultimately responsible.
So
No, you're quite right.
Watch out who you rent your unit to, because even if it's not your fault as an owner and you rent out your unit, you're responsible for all the costs and everything that happens in that unit.
Yeah.
We'll take a short pause. Denise, hang around. The number 416-705-1444. ConnectWithLou.com. Lots more of the Real Estate SOS show right here. Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. 416-705-1444. ConnectWithLou.com. When Lou's not doing the show, of course, full-time real estate broker Harvey Callis Realty here in Toronto.
And we're back with Denise Lash. We're going to talk about more about real estate law and specifically condo law and some of the different things that people that are looking to get into the condominium market may need to look into a little bit deeper. So what Denise and I were talking off the air, and one of the things that I was looking at is there's a whole bunch of people that for one reason or another, they wanted to buy into the low housing, the low-rise housing market. So they wanted a detached home, a semi, maybe a townhouse. With the market conditions the way they are, prices have skyrocketed essentially. It's tougher to get financing now. So some people have had to adjust the home type that they've been looking for and are now looking into condominiums. So when Denise and I had this conversation, I said, Denise, if I'm going from a freehold type of a purchase as a buyer, now I'm going into a condominium. I don't really know if there are any differences between buying a condominium versus buying a freehold. So I want to talk to Denise about this from a legal perspective. What are some of the things that buyers need to look at if they're now looking to buy a condominium versus a freehold house?
Oh, it's a long list.
Start at the top with the most important.
Pick one.
Let's work on three.
Yeah, I mean, people, when they look at buying a condo, they look at one of the benefits, which are, the security aspect, the maintenance situation, but not always is it maintenance free. There's certain maintenance obligations you have.
Well, not the maintenance free, not cost wise.
Yeah. But no snow shoveling.
No
that's
shoveling.
what we're talking about.
But somebody else shovels the snow.
Exactly,
somebody else does the landscaping. You don't have to do that anymore, which is great. I mean, my mother lives in a condo. She moved out of the house. She is so happy. You have your car and your underground garage. So those are some of the great things. But you have to be prepared, and I think you have to educate yourself that you're now going into a community. It is not just a community, but a corporation. So there's governance and there's obligations as owners, and you have certain rights. So you elect a board, and the board is going to make decisions that you used to make when you owned your home. Now somebody else is making the decisions.
That's a great way to look at it. Okay.
And then, your neighbors, just like being in an apartment building, it is better in a condo, but you do have noise, you have your odors, you have to be prepared. You're going to have some noise.
Yeah, you're living tooth by jowl, so you gotta accept that, right?
Yeah, you don't know who your neighbors are. The other thing is, are you close to elevators or the garbage room or whatever it is? Investigate those things before you buy your unit. I am dealing now with an issue where it's an owner, and it's now becoming litigious because he is living across a gym. And there is so much noise, but unreasonable noise. And in his case, the board's not doing anything about it. But for the past year and a half, he's suffered all kinds of physical ailments because of the noise. Something that this is not always the case where your unit is across from a fitness room, but think about it. If you're really sensitive to noise, look at which unit you're going to buy
Right.
and get it, and Lou, you know those things, right?
Absolutely.
Deal with that.
You're above the theater room. Perfect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that there's a definite, there's a whole new perspective that opens
And
up.
pets.
And yes, pets are
That's
another
another
one.
concern.
Pets.
Pets. So you need to get your documents and pay your lawyer. This is the problem. People shop around for the cheapest lawyer to do a deal. Pay your lawyer, or you review them yourself, the condo docs.
Okay. So we're talking about the status certificate, yeah?
Well, the status certificate is a certificate that you get when you purchase, and attached to that are the condo docs. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Read them, because you may see dogs walking around the condominium. They may be allowed because they were in at a certain time, and now there may be rules that prohibit it.
I see. So one time there could have been
Your
they would have
grandfathered in.
allowed a certain size of dog. Now it's no longer 60 pounds, it's 30.
And I had a woman with that situation. She
Right.
bought, her agent told her, oh, there are other dogs in the building, you're fine. She moved in. They went after her.
Of course.
And you know what? She sold her unit because she loved her dog.
Well, it's like a child. I of course.
Part of the family.
You can't abandon that, and I understand that. These are really, really important things that you bring up, because it's whether you happen to hear it from a realtor or hear it from this person or hear it from that person, look at the documents to see what they actually say.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of money. And for someone who just potentially, Denise, like you just said, who bought a unit, then realized that she can't stay there because of her dog, she's going to take a hit when she's selling that unit.
Right.
There's just no way around it. After land transfer taxes, legal fees, moving costs, all that kind of stuff, just because something was overlooked. So due diligence, for sure, is a necessity when looking into the condo.
Well, I'll tell you, my in-laws, for instance, just moved into a condo in October, and this is 45 years after living in a bungalow. And my father-in-law put a deadbolt on the inside that he could use. And so I go, you better make sure you can legally do that, because if the tenants can't get in, if fire, police can't get in, you've locked it from the inside. Off comes the deadbolt. He wouldn't think twice about doing your own home, right?
Yeah, that I'm glad you raised that, because that is an issue. Condominiums, corporations require access to units in the event of emergency, or anyway, just to repair the common
Right.
area.
Right, of
Inspections,
course.
whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to provide a key. If you don't provide a key or provide access, and they can go when you're not in the unit, then they'll break down the door or change the lock.
And you have to pay for it.
You got it. I told him that. Off came the deadbolt.
Oh my gosh, they're in trouble. And then the other thing is, if someone's buying a unit, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to renovate the unit when I move in. And I think, Lou, you know this issue. You better check out ahead of time whether you can do certain renovations.
Right.
They may be considered common elements, and you need to get approval of the board, and they may say no.
Yes, absolutely. And I went through that as well. And before I went into this whole big, huge renovation, I sat down with the property manager.
What can I do?
And we went through it piece by piece. I had everything signed off, and we documented all the work, and then we followed up to show them that we had inspections. So everything was done. So when it comes time for me to sell, I can fully disclose that I did it with the authority and approval
On the up and up.
of the condominium board.
Excellent.
And every single step of the way was signed off and approved and authorized. And that was the way to do it. Denise, we're running out of time again. One more time. No, but I'm going to have you back on the show next time.
Wonderful.
So until then, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks
You want to
so
get
much.
a hold of Denise? Very simple. ConnectWithLou.com or 416-705-1444. Real Estate SOS continues. Short break here. Global News Radio 640 Toronto.